Hello, Kyle here. Alright, this is a video I think I remember being proud of. Kyle Paints Seoul, 703 views. It was posted January 27th, 2008. Starting now.
It's important to begin the creative process with a good cup of tea. Orange Pico in my case. Now I go through my
As you can see, I'm still quite the user of tea.
Some pictures that look interesting.
I'm surprised. Oh, wobbly windows. I remember that from the early Ubuntu days. They've gotten rid of that kind of silly, goofy stuff, but I miss it. It was a lot of fun.
The next step is to increase the contrast and layer a few images together, creating a nice complex collage.
See, I had used this technique successfully 3 times at this point for my OCAD thesis, but then I had also done it unsuccessfully about 10 times the year after, so I was feeling pretty down on myself, like I had, captured this magical spark and then lost it. So for this series was really more of a question on whether or not I still had it. So when it turned out, I was quite happy with it. I'd always used projectors before, so for this one I was using an older, a technique that requires less technology, which is the grid technique, where you just add a grid over the image, then the same kind of grid on the empty paper, and then you can just look at one section at a time and copy it. It's a very, very easy way to get very technically complex images onto a page. The downside is it's quite slow. When I'm tracing, it's about 45 to 90 minutes per composition, whereas using the grid technique in this video was about 16 hours. And since this is a watercolor, which tends to sell for less than an acrylic or an oil painting, it's not really a viable business strategy, because that 16 hours instead of 1 means I'm either making a lot less or I'm having to charge a whole lot more.
Drawing finished, I can start by adding some color.
Oh, I love that Grumbacher set. It looks like cheap garbage, but it's actually quite nice.
Go back to fix a mistake. You can always go darker, you can't always go lighter. So I'll start with yellow, the lightest color, and slowly work my way towards black, which will be the last thing to go down. First light wash.
I don't know what it is, but I've always found it hypnotic to watch people create or make. I'm sure many of us have the experience of watching Bob Ross on PBS, and I've never even tried to paint along with it. I just enjoy watching him create and listening to him speak while he creates.
A little bit of color on there now.
More tea.
Oh, I love tea. Now it's just a matter of building up many subtle layers.
When I was in Korea, I actually thought that this technique of making an instructional video thing of each and every painting I work on would be kind of an interesting idea. It kind of gives everything its own unique story. But eventually what I discovered was I was focusing on the video as much as the artwork, and it kept disrupting my flow. So now I try to, if there's a natural break in the painting process, I might do some documentation or video. But when I'm in the middle of the painting, I just put all my attention in the painting, because when I know there's a camera in the background, it just throws me off, or my focus is divided. I can't give my all to the art. I believe that's Our Lady Peace in the background. I decided to give some of their new albums a shot, because I had given up on them after Clumsy, and then I listened to their newer work and I went back to Naveed and Clumsy. Oh, I remember that Pentel brush pen, and in fact I still have it and it still works fantastically well. It was 20 bucks 10 years ago, and it's still about 20 bucks now. I find the image really starts to come together once you get those blacks in. Also, before this, I'd always used gray. This was sort of my first time going with stark blacks and getting that higher contrast, which is something that I definitely chose to stick with. In the earlier days, I tried to have gray to sort of mimic the limited dynamic range of digital photography, but over time I realized that that's a stupid short-sighted approach, because digital sensors are only going to get better over time, so I shouldn't be focusing on the flaws, because that's temporary. And that would be like someone criticizing film photography by focusing on how it takes 8 hours to expose a single exposure. Like, yeah, that's a limitation of technology, but that's going to change. You're kind of focusing on the wrong thing and missing the point. So I decided, you know, in this series that that's the wrong aspect of digital imaging to focus on. So I should just, you know, not have these arbitrary rules to make it relate to an idea in my head. It should be all just about making the image the best it can be, and not having to worry about justifying absolutely everything I do, because art's about intuition. I prefer the model of just saturating my brain with knowledge, and then the art making process is sort of the way that info is sort of wrung out of my brain and turns into something physical. That's looking pretty nice. There were a few areas where I kind of messed up and filled in the wrong area and had to get creative, but overall I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. It's a lot more detailed than the acrylic paintings, and a lot cleaner. Although I do wish I had filmed this on the mini DV tape instead of the memory card, because this resolution is painful to look at. Nowadays, not only would this be in focus, but you'd be able to see the texture of the paper on the image as well. But I regret never having that image framed and mounted. It is one that I'm still, all these years later, very happy with. Very amateurish camera work, Kyle. All right, thanks for watching.